Hello and welcome everybody to Pizza Industry Convos, part of the Pizza Club Network. Tonight, we're going to be chatting with Nicole Bean of Pizaro's Pizza in Texas. She owns two restaurants, part of her family business, and is an ambassador for women in pizza. Nicole, welcome to Pizza Club. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. So I'm excited to dive in and talk about all things that are going on in your world, and we'll get a chance to talk about women in pizza as well. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about your backstory with the business and how you kind of got involved with pizza.
Sure. Yeah. Started out basically in the family business when my dad called me and was like, "Hey, we need help." They opened up the pizzeria in 2011 with just Neapolitan, and shortly after I joined with my husband, we started really taking pizza to the next level and just like really diving into it. And we opened our second location in 2016, and I started to go get more education and started to add new styles to our menu, such as Detroit and New York style, as well as gluten-free. So we now offer three different styles, including the gluten-free option in our Detroit style. And yeah, I've just been kind of pursuing the pizza career, even though it's not something I originally wanted to do, but here I am. I really enjoyed it. It's something I get to do with my hands, and I'm creative, and not every day is the same. So that makes me happy.
That's awesome. And you also have a university, right? Pizza U?
Yes, Pizza U. So that's our pizza school. So it started out as just kind of like an informative way to teach our customers about what we do and the passion that we have, and just kind of explaining the process of basically Neapolitan. And then it started really spiraling into, more and more people wanted to do more with that. So we started offering more classes. About 2 years ago, we finally split it from Pizzaro's, and now we have its own brand. It's basically a sister company called Pizza U. So essentially, we do various classes, anything from dough making to just very simple pizza making classes, which is one of the more popular classes because it's about an hour and people just come in to have fun with it. It's just making pizza, and that's it. They get to sit down and eat it at the end of the hour, and it's literally one of the most popular classes we've offered for $75.
That's awesome. And you have three different styles. So are you mainly teaching Neapolitan in that, or do you
Yes,
get into all the styles?
we started offering New York and Detroit as classes, and started to kind of find out that they weren't as much wanted as Neapolitan. So we were fine with that. So now we've kind of deterred to like by request for New York or Detroit, which we've had a few over the last couple months, but most of it's geared towards Neapolitan. More and more people are getting, unis, rock boxes, like Forno Bravo, like mini ones. I've seen everything. I'm starting to see things that I've never seen before from brands I've never heard of. Some of them are tabletop, some of them are like, skirting around on wheels. So it's really cool that more and more people are investing in this home style pizza.
Yeah. And I'm curious to know what's more popular in the restaurant now that you're offering three different styles.
Mhm.
I know you kind of started with Neapolitan. That's kind of the OG
Yeah,
style, right? In your
yeah.
restaurant. Tell a little bit about how it's evolved and what people are into nowadays.
Oh, things have gotten crazy over the years. So obviously Neapolitan is the most beloved of all of them. We offer a lunch special only with Neapolitan to get you in and out very quickly because they cook in 90 seconds. So it's just kind of a no-brainer, just keep that as a lunch special. So Neapolitan always kind of like teetering just slightly ahead of everybody else. But when we offered Detroit style for the first time, it took a little while to really catch on. Even with our Neapolitan, we were constantly teaching people what that style was, what it was about. And so we did the same thing and just replicated it with Detroit. It started to build on, started to catch fire, and then we introduced New York. And then we started to see this like really cool split of like how everything was going. At one point, we were exactly a 33% split across all three, which is pretty cool. But now it's kind of goes in these waves and even hourly. It's fun when we're on the line on Friday. It's like, oh, it's the Neapolitan hour, then it's the New York hour, and then we like kind of alternate between like Detroit's, New York's, and it's a very fun flow. But I would say Neapolitan's still holding pretty steady. Then New York is like right underneath it, and then Detroit.
Very cool. And
Yeah,
there's a lot of operators who are part of the Pizza Club, and I think one of the things that I'd love to know about from you, just the complexity of doing three styles. As you mentioned, you're kind of juggling there. If you were going to give advice to somebody who was thinking about, okay, I have Neapolitan or I have New York, but I really want to offer several styles. What are some of the big picture things to think about? Because obviously, it's a totally a shift in your business model, right? Or operationally, at least.
yeah. First and foremost, just start with one. Don't overwhelm yourself in trying to do everything all at one time. I promise you, Tony Dimignani didn't just start throwing stuff on the menu and be like, "We're doing everything." It was just a very nice evolution of things that he wanted to do, and kind of similarly, I saw that myself and was like, "That's really cool to offer multiple styles and be able to cater to so many people." And we started again with one because once you start that process, you really start unwinding like how difficult it really is, then trying to figure out the processes of like how is your staff going to understand how to do this plus what you already do. Then do you offer different toppings for it? What new supplies do you need? So it's a really long drawn out process, if you are really organized, and I would like to say I'm pretty well organized. We did basically like a calendar of how everything was going to fall, by the month, by the week, by the day until we got to like launch day.
Interesting. So I guess I'm curious to know, do you use different dough formulations for all the different pizzas? Because they are sort of, they're each is very different in many ways, but
Yes.
I know some, okay, you do. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how you're doing the dough process from the beginning, because you're basically creating three different kinds of dough every day then,
Yeah.
or?
Three different doughs every single day. We were able to keep one single flour for both Neapolitan and Detroit. So we're utilizing our Caputo 00 for our Detroit, which seems really crazy to do. But we figured out how it would render, and it's just rendering a much lighter pizza. Because we were going from such a thin style pizza, we didn't want to overwhelm people with kind of a heavier, high gluten dough. So we decided let's cut some corners here, cut cost. We can render kind of a different pizza out of the same flour, just with a different process and the formula. And it worked out really, really well. So we were pretty happy that we could offer um, a very light Detroit style pizza, and people would end up eating more of it than they anticipated, even though it's pretty thick.
Yeah. I think it's really smart that you're figuring out shortcuts and ways to use the products that you're already buying and sort of double up. Obviously, you can't be exact, but in that case, but it's okay because it improves your workflow. Has that paid off for you doing that method?
It has. I mean, the great thing is we don't have a lot of space, so being able to just have two flours, one for New York, one for New York, and then one for Neapolitan, Detroit. It really saves us space on where we're going to put bags of flour. Because when we start ordering the flour, we have to get crazy with the Caputo because we never know like what's going to happen with that. And specifically during the pandemic, we kind of like had that small scare of, are we going to get some like the shipment from Italy? Because if we're not, then we're kind of screwed. So it's a constant like keep your main things here, flour and tomatoes and cheese. That's the basis. If we don't have it, we basically have nothing.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Without that, you don't have
Yeah,
the key ingredients. Um, I want to talk a little bit. I want to shift gears for a minute about sort of what you've been up to, and I know you doing some traveling this year to visit some pizzerias. Tell me a little bit about that and what are you up to this year with
sure.
your
Yeah.
travels?
This year is kind of crazy. We're following up on last year, which was also crazy. We managed to visit every single continent last year, which is very wild to say that we've done that, but very cool because it's been a lifelong dream of mine. This year, we've decided to fulfill the other lifelong dream of mine is visiting all 50 states. So we are really running and gunning, and along the way, we're kind of eating pizza everywhere that we can. We ate pizza everywhere we could abroad, and now we're kind of doing that same thing in the US as well. So it's a part of our life, and it's one of those things that as we continue to travel, we continue to like find new things that really spark our interest and really, you know, in in a way just kind of spark that creativity of, what else can we do? How far can we push this in a flavor profile that people may not think about trying? We went to a barbecue festival last year in November, and there's a gentleman from Egypt who is doing barbecue in Austin. And we had just recently gone to Egypt, so I was like, oh, we got to try this guy's place. I want to know what he's doing. I didn't know that I needed to have pomegranate in my barbecue. Like, that was just something that was not ever in my repertoire of things in barbecue, being a native Houstonian and being a native Texan. Like, you don't put you don't put fruit in your barbecue. You don't put feta cheese on it. You absolutely don't include like cilantro or like microgreens. Like, that's just very unheard of. But it was just something so unique that I just couldn't help myself but have like multiple little tiny portions of it. I was like, I need this. Like, he had saffron rice with it. It was just something so wild that just really blew my mind. But it's those things that like really stick with you. You'll never forget that. And I think that's what I want to bring to pizza is that uniqueness. And I find that I'm very crazy because I really enjoy like a sweet savory palette on pizza. And I'm really hoping to change people's mind about what really belongs on pizza and what doesn't, because for me, anything goes.
Yeah, and it's funny that barbecue is sort of anti fruit on in barbecue, or it's not typical, right? And pizza, it's sort of controversial too, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of a funny overlap there.
Yeah, like you would expect to have pomegranate on pizza, right? Like that's not like so far off the beaten
Yeah,
path that you're like, whoa. But with barbecue, you're like, wait, hold on. Why is this happening and why is this so good?
nice. I love it. Yeah, and sometimes there's sweetness in the sauce and too, so I think it kind of
Yeah.
makes sense. So you've been traveling around and you're learning about different pizza styles, right? I mean, that's part of it. And talk a little bit about that sort of exploration. And I think it's great that you're getting exposure to all these different states and like different ways of doing business too. So talk a little bit first about the pizza styles that you're coming across in your journeys,
I
because there are
mean,
many.
we've had many. We've kind of tried almost everything. We were recently just in Rhode Island, and I didn't get the chance to try it, but my friend Stephanie did, and she was like, "I heard that Rhode Island has its own style of pizza," and I was like, "Oh, please tell me more. I've never heard about this." And she's like, "Down the street, there's this little place that says that they have like Rhode Island style pizza." So she went to try it, and she showed me this photo. It looks like it's almost like a flatbread, but like in a kind of oblong shape, as if someone had made a calzone and just like smushed the crap out of it, but nothing is inside. And they just top it with toppings and they like cut it in these little kind of strips. And it's just a very unique way to like offer pizza. We also went down to Newport in Rhode Island and had this really amazing pizza called a Rhode Island party pie, which was a round pizza. Apparently, it can be made in any shape, but it's just like this really deeply reduced tomato sauce with garlic, olive oil, and a little bit of oregano, and that's the basis of it. But they offered it with burrata, which really just sent it over the edge for me. And I was like, I've never heard of this. It's super delicious. I will make this again, or I'll try this again. I've got to come back to this place. New pizzeria just opened up last year, so it was really cool to chat with one of the owners who's also it's a woman-owned business. She's got two other business partners. They do have a fine dining restaurant down the street, and this was kind of their second venture to try something new. Uh, Funny conversation is that she's like, we thought we were going to do something easy by coming into pizza, and I was like, a lot of people anticipate that pizza is going to be easy, and then they realize like it's just as hard as anything else.
I mean, it seems like an appetizing business to be in, but it is a lot of work. And I know you do spend a lot of time, but also you figured out ways to streamline your process. So I know you're going to be speaking about this a little bit in Pizza Expo, which we're recording this actually right before Pizza Expo. So
Mhm.
talk a little bit about your talk and what kind of topic you're going to be covering there.
Sure. Won't get all of the eggs away, but we are going to be discussing kind of how to get out of your business, but still build your business and have a better business. It's something my husband and I have been working on for, gosh, like the last 2.5, 3 years. Really just getting myself and my brother out of the day-to-day business. As far as like ownership roles, just really pulling us out so that we can stop micromanaging the business and really see kind of the broader picture of, how can we operate better? How can we grow the business? What can we do with our free time? Are we really valuable to the business on the day to day, or are we just driving our employees crazy? Which most of the time we're just driving our employees crazy, um, because we're so close to it. It's our little brainchild. We spent so much time like building this menu and the processes and just really like making sure that each pizza is beautiful, that reaches the customer and the customer thinks the same thing. But essentially, long story short, is we have figured out some different techniques and ways that we can alleviate our time inside of the restaurant and alleviate some of the stresses that we have by building trust through employees and making processes that work and that standardize so that there isn't like, oh, Johnny made that pizza versus Nicole made that pizza. There isn't really too much differentiation between who's making the pizza, and so the customer doesn't really know who made it versus who didn't make it, or it should look identical every time that it comes out. Yes, some pizza makers do have a different push out. They do have a different way of maneuvering the pizza. I couldn't make the same pizza that Chris Decker makes because we are two completely different pizza makers. But the way that we train our employees is that we want the same consistency across the board as best as possible.
Makes a lot of sense. And I think, having a system that keeps everybody in check with what it is that you're making, and it's you try to standardize it across the board. I think that's really key for businesses, especially that want to grow from one location to many locations. I think a lot of times business owners get stuck in the business, right? And I think a lot of times they want to get out of it. And you're able to travel, right? You're traveling across the country. So I mean, what is your thoughts on getting out of the business to grow? Because I feel like that is getting out of your own way.
It's really hard. I mean, I still have like a lot of anxiety that comes with, not being there. It's that feeling of guilt of like, I'm not there today, or I wasn't here, 2 days ago when something happened. And there is a lot of guilt that comes with it. But at the same time, you have to remember your ultimate goal and like really keeping the best way to describe this is kind of like a tunnel vision, not saying like, oh, we're blocking everything out, but just kind of really focusing on what that end goal is. And for me, it's building more Pizzaro's pizzas in not necessarily the same way that we have them now, but creating more of them. Ever since I stepped into this business, I told my dad, I was like, we need to have a bunch of these just everywhere. And to this day, and it's been 13 years now, I still feel the same way. And I wanted that to happen in 2019, but the pandemic happened, so here we are.
So what I mean in terms of expansion for Pizarro's, I mean, how do you sort of see like the next chapter beyond the two locations? Do you want to grow? Are you kind of happy with where you are? Do you want to like how do you envision like the future now that you've kind of owned this part of it and ready, maybe to move on to something more or grow?
Definitely. I am never happy with it. I feel like there's always more. There's always more to learn. There's always more to, give, and there's always more to be had or to give out or whatever you want to call it. But I always like to stay in that really like uncomfortable, slightly comfortable spot where it's just like, if we just tweak this slightly, it could go all wrong, or like it could go all right. For me, it's really streamlining down to what the bases are. As we've added Detroit and New York to the menu, we've noticed that more people on the week, especially the weekends, tend to gravitate towards New York. One, it's bigger, but two, it's more common. I think it's just like the way that Americans were brought up is like New York style pizza is pizza, and everything outside of that is kind of like not pizza, but pizza. Does that make sense? So they're looking for, takeaway items, crispier pizza, something that can hold more toppings. And this has been going on forever. It's not something that is new to us, but it is something that we feel like if that's what we are wanting to kind of focus on, that means we are going to lose Neapolitan. However, that means that we don't have to train someone how to cook on the Neapolitan oven, which is very challenging. I mean, you're talking about like a 90-second cook time versus, a 8 to 10 minute cook time, depending on what your temps are for New York. And there's less that's really involved with that. You can kind of set it, put it on timer, watch it, versus there's no time to watch Neapolitan oven. You can't step away. There's not much you can do. And also, there's also the complaint of like it's soggy, or they don't understand why you can't put many toppings on it. It's a price we have to pay in order, I think, to grow, and kind of, if we're not going to be at every location all the time, the more that we expand, the less we're going to be there. So there's a little give and take, but I feel like if we lose Neapolitan, then I can add cracker thin, which is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, is add cracker thin to our menu. But I keep getting like a lot of pushback from my managers, and my brother and my husband are like, we can't keep doing this to the employees. And I was like, yeah, I know, but it would make the menu like that much better.
I guess if you have the systems and the training in place, you could do it. But I guess it's another step, and I guess I guess you'll see if that's going to
Yeah,
fly.
I feel like if we are able to get this next concept going, we can really see how well Cracker Thin's doing in the long scheme of things. We could
Right,
potentially add it, and then the companies would all be identical outside of having Neapolitan.
right. And I guess testing is probably part of that, right? Like seeing, sort of gauging the customer feedback. I would imagine to get them sort of on board with what you're doing, right?
Yes, we've been kind of testing the Cracker Thin for many years now. We started our very first pop up in 2020, right before the pandemic, literally the week before. And I was so excited. I created this menu for it. We've been working for weeks. I brought in this beautiful flour for it. And we got about 2 weeks in, and then everything just shut down. So I was like, all right, well, we're just going to have to bring this back another time. So we did that. We did another pop up. We tested it. It went very well. So for the last 3 years, we've done Cracker Thin pop ups, and almost every single year, people will send us an email or mention to us, when is the Cracker Thing coming back? When are we going to get that again? Is that going to be on the menu soon? Like when can we get that again? So I've been really like gauging over the last couple of years, really what the interest is. And then finally last year when we did our pop-up, we had our very first Cracker Thin pizzeria open in town. So it was like, wonder how this is going to go for them. We're really going to see how well this lasts for them, because I can keep doing pop-ups every year. I'm totally fine with that. It makes the staff happy because they're like, okay, great, it's only for this amount of time.
Well, it's interesting because you can let this restaurant sort of test the market for you. So I guess you'll learn a lot from
Exactly.
that.
It's been a lot of fun, and it's been really interesting. Really trying to streamline that process because we are doing a par bake on the cracker thins. So kind of watching like how the employees are working with the dough. Sometimes, some of them have too much pressure on the rollout. This is the only pizza we've ever used a rolling pin with, so it's very different and it's a completely different process. And um, getting them to understand, like, you have to be firm but delicate with the rolling pin, because if you roll too hard and, right versus left side, you're going to get a really thin spot and that section's going to be like super burnt. So it's been interesting to kind of test this out a couple different times.
I love it. Well, you have to keep us posted and let us know when it's on the menu so we can come visit.
Definitely. Probably
Uh,
sometime later this year.
awesome. Um, so you heard it here first. So
Yeah.
let's switch gears a bit and talk a little bit about your involvement with Women in Pizza. I know you're an ambassador, one of the original, I guess, ambassadors for Women in Pizza. Tell us, for those who aren't like familiar with it, maybe just tell a little bit about what the organization is about. And I'm just curious I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on lately with the group.
Perfect. Okay. So the organization started with Orlando Foods and Caputo. Um, Alexandra Mortati, who's Fred's daughter, started it, just to kind of bring awareness to women in the industry. And it started out as just kind of like a group of women like myself. There were about five of us who started it. And we were just kind of, you know, grabbing as many women as we could. Hey, if you work in the pizzeria, we want you to be a part of it, whether you're making pizza, you're cashier, you're front of house, whatever it is in the industry that you're doing, we want you to be a part of it, because we want people to know and understand that there are women in this industry. It's not just, a sausage fest. There are women here that, you know what I mean? So it started out as like very small like that. Now it's kind of grown into this very big organization where we're constantly finding more and more women out there. And every time that I go to pizzeria and I see a woman, I typically will tell them about women in pizza. I did that in Florida and I did that in Rhode Island already this year. So just kind of really bringing awareness to, like, hey, you're not the only woman in this industry. You're not the only one doing all the things that you're doing. Like, there's plenty of us. It's a community. We want you to know that you are heard, you're seen, and we're all here to do this together.
That's great, and I think it's important. It's an important group, and I love that you're out there, sort of advocating to bring everyone together. So that's really cool. Is there any like specific projects or things that are happening right now? Or are you working on that for that, or is it just sort of an ongoing, effort for you?
It's an ongoing thing. I don't think that it will ever stop. I think it's been really interesting the way that it's kind of come about very slowly, and it's progressively getting larger. Like I said, we started out with like five of us as ambassadors, and now we're, getting up to about like 15, 20 ambassadors, but the
Wow,
group is fairly large, and it's pretty cool. So on the website, you can go to womeninpizza.com and log in, and you can kind of see how many women are across the US, but also across the globe, and just kind of see how much that community is really growing. It's really interesting to see like how big this has gotten. And if you're familiar with Stephanie Swain, she's kind of leading the conversations almost weekly with different women who are doing various things inside the business, and just bringing their their touch to whatever it is that they're doing inside the business. And it's pretty cool to see different variations of the way that, women handle different things differently. um, I've watched so many people do so many different things across just the US alone. um, like Sarah McKinnick is basically forging almost everything for her menu, which is crazy to me. I mean, she's in such a beautiful area. She can go and grab mushrooms basically from, the forest, and put it on a pizza in this most magnificent way that you've ever seen. And then you've got Anna Mercurio, or Anna Crusett from Mercurio, who is also a fabulous gelato maker, by the way. If you want to see her light up like a light bulb, ask her about gelato. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. She's a phenomenal pizza maker, but she has a huge passion for gelato, and she mixes those things super amazingly. Last year, she did a tomato flavored gelato, and I wished so bad that I could crawl through the screen to try it because it looked amazing.
I had talked to her about this, and it sounded really great. And actually, she was just a guest on Pizza Roundtable on Pizza Club, so I'll actually link that below. But yeah,
Awesome.
she's very much like she's deep in the gelato world for
She
sure.
she loves it. She is just like such a fierce woman. It's so crazy, and she's got three daughters, and I mean, I feel bad for her, but I also like I'm so happy for her because her daughters are just like really giving her hell. And I'm like, you know that that's in a good way because you are their mom. So you get to take all the credit for all of their sass and everything that they're going to grow up to be.
I love it.
Yeah.
She's great. Um, and I guess to talk a little bit about competitions. We didn't get to
Mhm.
talk about that at all. So maybe tell me a little, because you've competed a lot for in the Neapolitan world. So tell me what's going on. Are you planning on any competitions coming up? What's and tell us also a little bit about some of the things you've done too, if for those who
Oh,
don't know.
okay. Oh, we got to go way far back. I've always been doing really weird things, kind of since the beginning. I was kind of pushed in a very gentle but firm way from Laura Meyer to jump into competitions. She's been competing forever, and it was like one year I was I was like talking to her and having a conversation with her, and she finally just like looked at me. She was like, "When are you going to start competing?" I was like, "I don't know. Why?" She's like, "Well, how long are you going to sit and watch your brother compete, and you're just going to not?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's a good question. I never thought about competing, making pizza making, but sure, why not?" So the next year in Atlantic City, I did for the first time, and I did a Detroit style pizza with green apples and prosciutto with the balsamic and goat cheese. And it came out beautifully. I was very happy with it. Very basic pizza, I felt like. But this was also at the time that Detroit was just kind of coming out of the woodwork a little bit. So I was really happy with the first one that I did. I didn't place terribly. It was like kind of right in the middle-ish. I think like top 20. So I was like, okay, I think this is going to go fine. So after that, I really honed in on my skills and I was like, all right, next year I'm competing in Las Vegas. We're doing this. So I found a lot of comfort in Detroit style at first. I was too scared to do Neapolitan. It's just like nerve-wracking to cook a pizza in 90 seconds in front of multiple people who are just like watching your every last move. Eventually I got there and I have done many things, right? So I've gotten, as close to fifth place, and also I've placed completely dead last. And it was a very humbling experience. And every time that you compete, it's just something that's just like you learn, you move on, you have to figure out how you're going to overcome that challenge again because you're not in your pizzeria. You're somewhere completely different, doing something completely out of your element. You don't know where everything is, you don't know the tools, you may not have the right temperature. There's so many things are just completely out of your control that you have to just be like, okay, I'm just going to deal with this. But I think my first Neapolitan pizza I made I think I did it in Vegas. And I think that was the first one that I like completely bombed. I ripped the pizza. It wasn't holding my peel correctly. It was upside down. Didn't even notice. I get lucky because my last name is Bean, so I'm usually first, which is at like 7:30 in the morning, sometimes, earlier. So there's no one around. There shouldn't be any pressure, but you're like the first person to go. So you're like, oh, there's no problem, right? And then you just like don't even think about what you're doing. And then you end up ripping a hole in your pizza and you finish last. And it's fine. It's okay. It is what it is.
Get it out of the way early. But I guess I'm sure you've learned a lot and met a lot of great people along the way. So I think I'm sure even in the losses and the being dead last, like I'm sure every little competition or every competition you get some little thing out of it. I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, the fun thing is watching other people compete and then being like, oh, I should have done that. Or, oh, that's a really cool tip or trick or something. Um, I competed Neapolitan and Parma, which was the first time that I ever had my dough weighed, my sauce weighed, my cheese weighed. Like they literally asked you how much dough in grams, how much sauce are you putting on your pizza, where's your cheese from? I mean, everything that you could possibly imagine. Is a little bit kind of crazy because it's also, they're asking you in Italian with a translator. Uh, so, it becomes a little more cumbersome at that point. And then last year I did Neapolitan in Naples for the first time. And I had so much fun in Naples that I was just like, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna just go make pizza just because I want to. I don't even care if I place. I just want to make pizza in Naples. And so I'll be going back again this year to make Neapolitan pizza in Naples again. So
Very
if I
cool.
win, great. If I don't care. I'm here to have fun and just enjoy it, and you know.
I think that's a great attitude, and I wish you luck and success in Naples again. And
Thanks.
um, and what, just real quick, what are the categories you're competing with in Vegas coming up for the Pizza Expo, which is in next week?
I'm going to be competing in non-traditional, and I'll be doing a Roman style pizza this year,
All right.
which
Well,
I'm very excited about. I've really dived hard into Roman style pizza, and I know that I'm not perfect at it, but I'm still trying, and I'm going to give it a go.
yeah, I give you a lot of props for putting yourself out there and trying something in a new category. So
Heck yeah, you never know what you're going to do well in.
yeah, got to give it a shot. Well, Nicole, I just want to thank you. Is there anything else that we should have talked about or forgot? That's going on in your world right now. I think we've covered a lot.
We have covered a lot. I'm exactly how our conversation went today. I'm just kind of all over the place. So it's just one of those things like, I'm trying to keep up with myself most days. So if you can keep up with me, I congratulate you. But I think we covered most everything.
Yeah,
But if you
awesome.
are interested in following us through our travels, we do have a YouTube channel. So if you're curious to kind of watch us travel through the US and dive into pizza and stuff, we are documenting it.
What is the handle for that YouTube channel?
It is Brad and Nicole Bean all together.
Cool. Well, we can link that below as well.
Awesome.
And again, I really appreciate your time, Nicole. Thank you for coming on Pizza Club and telling us what's going on in your world. We'll hope to have you back in the future. Um, and good luck in Vegas.
Thank you. Well, I can't say you're coming to Vegas, right?
I am not, unfortunately, this year.
Oh no, darn it. I was gonna say I can't wait to see you, but I will miss you dearly.
Thank you. Well, next year, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah, so best of luck. And just before we go, how can people find you on social media besides your YouTube channel?
You can find me on Instagram, nick.bean. It's nic.bean. It's the best way to find me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And your pizzeria
Yep.
handle?
Pizza. It's Pizaros_pizza.
Awesome. Thanks again. And before we go, just want to say, make sure you like and subscribe for this video, and you can follow us on Instagram, Pizza Club. That's I Need Pizza Club on Instagram and all the other social channels. This has been Pizza Industry Convos. We'll see you again for the next episode soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.